So the conversation is continuing around Skye Bank's Skyfall on Friday and now the morning after. Let's take a broader look at the banking sector. This is not the first time we've seen a bank under administration of the central bank. First at the first instance, then finally now becoming a bridge bank by a new name, Polaris Bank Limited. Let's cross back to our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Adedayo Bakare is the macroeconomic strategist at Afrinvest and is joining us this morning. Adedayo, good morning. And I'm sure between Friday and this morning, you and the rest of your team at Afrinvest must have put heads together. What sense are you folks making of this development on Friday?
Okay, thanks for having me on the show, Bosin. We received the news with, it was quite surprising on Friday, and because since July 2016, we've been aware of the CBN's intervention to salvage the bank based on, the lack of sound prudential guidelines in the bank and the erosion of shareholder capital. And so for us, it was a surprising development, but we are aware that it is important that the financial system remains stable and in a position of strength. As well, we are aware of CBN's intention to avert a total collapse of the bank, because the implication of that would be a loss of depositors' funds and the almost total erosion in the banking system. So with these measures they've taken, although not perfect, and with slight reservations, we are sure that the banking system remains in a position of strength.
Your firm, Afrinvest, do publish banking sector report every year, a very robust document, dozens and dozens of pages. I'm sure you've taken a look back into this book over the last 20 or 72 hours or thereabout. What did you find in there about Skye Bank? This is a bank with no financial statements over the last 2 years. The last anyone ever saw in public was 2015. So what do we make of what happened there in the last 2 years, 2.5 years now until now? First half of this year, we don't have any financial statement also from this bank. What was in your book, Afrinvest report on Skye Bank?
Okay, for us, the last financial statement that is available to the general public and to us is the 2015 financial statement. And in our 2016 banking report, we covered, we analyzed the bank. Now, since 2015, that's 2016 full year results, 2017 full year results, and H1 2018 half year report, we've not seen any accounts, any financial statement yet, and that means we cannot reasonably analyze, the position of the bank or what has happened in the bank since 2016. Now, and the implication of that for the market, for the entire market, is there's a lack of clarity, because since 2016 we really do not know what the books looks like, and without knowing for the entire market.
Yeah, what are the key issues for you folks at Afrinvest when it comes to banking sector investing? I'm sure you folks will be getting loads of phone calls as the other investment firms on Broad Street as to what happens to my shares in other banks, one or two other banks as well. If they have issues, folks will be making phone calls, maybe sending emails and messages to you guys. What do you expect to hear from retail investors and other investors who may be thinking, what happens next? Do we have another bank on the radar? Is there no other bank? How do we move on from here?
Okay, I mean, obviously there's a bridge bank called Polaris now, and for the depositors, obviously the depositors' funds are safe, and that is one of the reasons that guided the intervention of the CBN as well as NDIC. Now, for us in general at Afrinvest, we've been covering banks for over a decade now, and one of the things we continue to look at it's about the strength of the balance sheet, how healthy the balance sheet is. So you look at how capitalized the bank is. So I mean, those are all the issues, as well as corporate governance issues. So for Skye Bank, we've seen that play out as well. There were liquidity issues. I mean, loans, there was a high rate of non-performing loans. The capital adequacy ratio was also very, very weak. So those are some of the, the indicators we look like to get a sense of the strength of a particular bank and the industry as a whole. And we believe for retail investors as well, those are things, to watch out for. The size of the balance sheet, how healthy the balance sheet is, and also capital, and the loans they're taking on, how, I mean, it's not enough to have aggressive expansion in loans. How prudent are they being in taking loans and all those things? So for us, these are the issues, and for investors going forward, investing in banks, especially tier 2 banks, we believe they'll continue to proceed with caution before making investing decisions. As well, this is a call to the regulatory authorities to continue to strengthen the oversight on the banking system to prevent these kind of issues that would erode confidence in the market.
From a macroeconomic point of view, do you think there's a lot more to do in terms of risk management? What do you think the macroeconomic environment bearing has on developments such as these? If we look back over the last few years, 10 years and counting, we've taken down quite a number of banks off Broad Street, and it looks like almost on a daily basis, even those that were under the bridge bank arrangement about 9-10 years ago are not yet stellar performer when you look at those banks on the street today. So a bridge bank, yes, prevents liquidation. Well, maybe as an option. If liquidation, if we have buyers, new buyers who will bring in money. But again, what does it tell about the overall macroeconomic environment in which Broad Street operates?
Okay, for us, we know developments that have happened since 2014. And I mean, there was a slump in oil prices, and I mean, that had a ripple effect on the economy. So we believe for banks, I mean, they are not immune to developments in the general macroeconomy. And as we can see, from 2015 down to 2017, we've seen that there's been an expansion in bad loans in the market, and that is also, backed by the current fragile, nature of the economy. Consumer spending is weak. Corporates are still battling severe underperformances. So all these are, issues that we think has affected the banking sector. So even among some, typically strong banks, the tier 1 banks too, they've also had all those issues. So non-performing loans has been on the increase. We've seen higher provisions for all this. And we believe it's still part of why, banks are being cautious now to not as, to be careful in aggressively expanding their loan book, because the economy is still currently weak. So for banks and the financial system as a whole, they'll be looking for, looking at the momentum in the economy as you're seeing an uptick, sustained performances, as you're seeing a more, broader and even recovery that covers, critical sectors in the critical subsectors in the non-oil sectors. You expect that, banks will continue to respond to this as well. For risk management as a whole, it's important for an economy to maintain, a very strong, financial system. You need adequately capitalized banks, very strong banks that can withstand, economic shocks and also financial system shocks. And we believe this is a call to action that one of the regulations that have occurred since, the global financial crisis that filtered into the Nigerian market needs to be strengthened. The corporate governance in these banks also needs to be strengthened. For us, what the book is like, we can't really make judgments or investment decisions based on that. So for us, it's 2 years, the past 2.5 years, it's been shrouded in secrecy, and it's really hard to make sense of what the numbers will be since it's not available.
Yes, so yes, we're all walking in the dark, as it were, right now, at least for the last 2.5 years. So if you look at the shares of Skye Bank, of former Skye Bank now, to put that correctly, enjoyed about 40% share price return since the beginning of the year. The bank was enjoying the rest of the rally that we saw last year and the early part of this year without any financials on the street with which investors will base. So we say that was pure speculation. So what do you think retail investors need to know as at now?
Okay, the critical thing I think that has to be known is that the bank is currently trading on the shares of Skye Bank has been suspended, so no form of trading can occur. In up till Friday, we saw a very level of trading. Over 40 million shares were still traded on Friday, and the banking system obviously continues to be affected by the fragile nature of the economy.
Thank you very much, macroeconomic strategist at Afrinvest. We thank you for your time today. Let's leave it there for now. We'll have days and weeks ahead to continue to go over this. Let's take a break. When we come back, we have on our calendar quite a very busy week, but again, we'll go back to the trading floor for the trading day.